Good morning and welcome to episode 5 of the Made in the AM podcast. My name is Fie and I'm coming to you from a quite lovely morning here in Denmark. You can find me on Ravelry and Instagram and Snapchat and other social media as Bundgaard F. I'll put the name down in the description box, as I'm sure some of you won't be able to spell that correctly. Not your fault. Entirely down to my Swedish ancestry. And I lost my train of thought. And I really want to say Dear Carrie, because I've been watching Carrie Her Fletcher's channel. It's way past my bedtime. And her brother, Tom Fletcher's channel. I've been binge watching it really, because I was behind on a lot of things, and they have this whole Dear Carrie, Dear Tom thing going on. So that's stuck in my head. That's a complete tangent. I'm sorry. Let's look at some knitting instead, right? I have no FO today. None. I am a Ravelinics fail, which I knew I would be. I think I said that already last week. But I did do some knitting, and I did do a lot of knitting that could have potentially resulted in a FO this week. But I didn't. Just didn't. So let's look at what's had least progress on it. Just starting somewhere. So least progress is in my Thimble and Thread Make bag from Tracy, and she put up on Instagram that she's going on a bit of a break from the shop. So tomorrow is the last chance to order her lovely bags. I haven't looked because I know I'll be tempted to buy something, and I really don't need extra project bags because I already have more than I use. So yeah. But in this, better put the remote down there. In this bag I've got the start of my Asana shawl. The Asana shawl is the third shawl in the Shawl Society subscription by Helen Stewart. And the Asana shawl is a giant, this is maybe a third of the garter stitch. I should say I'm knitting the large version. So this is about a third of the garter stitch portion, and then there's a really nice lace edging with beads. And hold that thought, because I forgot something. I'll be right back. And I'm back. So, as I was saying, the Asana shawl will have beads on it, and last week I mentioned my bead needs, which a lot of people found amusing. And when I say a lot, mainly my bestie. And my bead needs have been fulfilled, because my order came in really fast, really cheap. I buy all my, let me just cover up my address here. I buy all my beads from this seller, Chroma Beads, on eBay. I think they may have their own. No, it's just a link to the eBay store. But it's Chroma Beads. They're cheap, fast delivery, and a great selection. I haven't decided what beads I wanted, and you know how it is with screens. Sometimes the color shows off great, and sometimes you get something completely different. I will say that with chroma beads, I usually get what I see on the screen, so I wasn't too worried about that. But I wanted grey beads, and grey is such... I mean, you have grey and grey and grey and silver, silver line, a blue leaning rainbow, a purple leaning rainbow. I mean, that's just one order because I went a bit crazy. I haven't really... I'm not 100% on what beads I'll use for this shawl, but I'm leaning towards, and these are in plastic bags, so I'm not sure how well this will show up, but I'm leaning towards this combination. Before I actually get to the knitting with the beads, I'll just string some on the remaining yarn, because there'll be a lot of remaining yarn, to see which effect I like the best. That's how I determine all my bead selections. It's just string it on, figure out what looks best with the yarn, and go for it. But yeah, as you can tell, I ordered a lot of different beads, and I think one bag, this is a 50-gram bag, which these are size 6/0 seed beads, which I've been told means that you can fit 6 beads to an inch. I'm not sure if that's true. I know nothing about beads other than ooh shiny. But one bag of these cost me £1. And one bag should be enough for this shawl. I do have duplicate bags for some of the colors, so these could be really nice. See, that's the problem with beads. They all look nice. Sometimes you'll be surprised at what actually works with the yarn you're using. So yeah, that's to be determined later. And now I have a sea of beads, an entire bead mountain over here. I'll tell you what a shawl is. This, as I said, there's been very little progress. This is where I was the last time, or last week. So I've more than doubled that, but yeah. It's not going to be done anytime soon at this pace. The yarn I have, this huge cake, is Wollmeise lace garn in the Grafratz colorway. And I won't be using all of this because I think, even though this is a bit of a heavy heavy lace weight and close to fingering, I think that the largest shawl is supposed to use around 700 yards or meters, I'm not sure. And the fingering weight version was around 800 meters. And this is, what, 1700 meters or something. So plenty large enough for even the large shawl. And I'm knitting this on a 3.75 millimeter needle. I am a loose knitter, so doing a true lace weight on this would leave a very open fabric. But I like it with the heavier lace garn. It's nice, it's squishy, it's still open, just not as much. So that's the first thing I've been working on. The next thing I've been working on, I just need to activate my Surface Pro here. Yeah. The next thing I've been working on is a bit of a spoiler if you're in the Isolde Tea Club. It's the third installment of the Isolde Club for 2016. And the yarn is from the Uncommon Thread. It's the Posh Fingering, which is a 70% superwash blue-faced Leicester, 20% silk and 10% cashmere. And it's called Space Oddity, which is a reference to David Bowie. And I am a bit of a sucker for yarn that's referencing David Bowie. And especially Space Oddity because, well, that's the whole, that whole thing. I was born in the 80s, what can I say? Anyway, the pattern is called Fraxinus. I've been told it's an ash tree, and it looks like this. Just a lovely cowl with a honeycomb pattern and a bit of some open, well, not open, but a bit of texture, and it's knit from the top down, so I started out with a lot of ribbing. So this is the entire rib section done, and I've only done the first, well, this is the start of the second row. Oh, sorry, I'm just going inside out. I've only just started the second row of the honeycomb pattern, which isn't really a honeycomb pattern, it's just, that's the visual of it. And it's just, the yarn is lovely and gets a really great shine from the silk content. So, yeah. Really excited to try this yarn out, because I've seen it before, well, online, but I've never felt it before, and it's quite nice to work with. Love the shine that it gets from the silk. But I'm a bit of a sucker for shine, hence my multiple bead purchases. And I'm working this up on a 3.25mm needle, which is the one recommended in the pattern. Normally I'd go up to a size 3.5mm needle for the gauge suggested, but I figured let's try it with the recommended needle. It's a cowl, so it doesn't matter if it turns out to be a bit tighter, because it'll just mean it'll tighten up around my neck. It'll be nice and cozy and snuggly. But yeah, ribbing. All the ribbing. I'm not a big fan of knitting ribbing, especially as this is not a 2x2 ribbing. So I had to concentrate on this one. But I like the way it looks in the pattern, and it'll need a good wash and a block. But I'm sure it'll be fine. Right. Last week I also talked about casting on the Weather socks, or yarn from London House Yarns as socks, and I did. And very appropriately, I started the toe while watching the synchronized swimming, so Charlotte, also known as this lazy lady, on Ravelry and Instagram. I found it funny that I posted a picture on Instagram showing the toe on my foot with the synchronized swimmers in the background. After I'd said last week that I didn't tend to wave my foot around in public. I do in the privacy of my own home, and apparently I don't mind showing you on Instagram. Just be glad I don't show everything I do on Instagram, because I do some silly stuff sometimes. Anyway, this is how far I've gotten in the last week. Look at this. Look how lovely it looks. And I'm just such a sucker for the let me just put this on a soft bugger. It'll be easier. There we go. Needle management is not my strong suit, I can tell. Okay, let's try it this way. I'm a real sucker for, let me just see if I can spot where my fingers are. For this, you have the blue skies with the clouds, and then you have the rainbow, and then you have a grey stripe or grey sky with a hint of white clouds, and I just love looking at the progression through the sock. I would usually do an afterthought heel on a striped sock, but I've been seeing over and over how people do a short row heel, pulling from the other end. So I thought I'd try that. And I got this cute little heel here with the little rainbow. And I think it looks good. You still have the improvised short row heel I did, because I didn't bother looking up a pattern for it. I just decided to pick up an extra stitch from the front of the foot, or 2 extra stitches from the front, so that I'd work my heel over 34 stitches, because short row heels can be a bit big on me. Not big, small on me. Words, they have meaning apparently. Anyway, they can be a bit tight on me, so I tried picking up or using 2 extra stitches and just working my way down until I thought that, oh, it looked okay on my heel, and then working my way back out. And the front of it is uninterrupted this way, because I didn't have, I think it's the Fish Lips Kiss heel maybe, or is it the Tomato heel, that has you go around a full row and then work back on your short rows. But that would give you an extra row on the front that wouldn't match up with the rest of the rows. So I just decided to do the short rows back and forth, and then go straight into working my way back out, or increasing the number of stitches I did each row. And I like the way that you have it ended up with the blue sky down here, the rainbow for the actual heel, and then the grey skies, and back to rainbow and grey skies. I didn't do any calculations or anything to what point I'd start my heel, I just pulled the yarn from the inside and just added it in. This also means that I'll have extra ends that can close up this little gap here. Part of the gap is because I added in new yarn, so the stitch is just open right now. So if I'd close that up, no problem. No holes, no nothing. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of tall socks, so I don't know how tall my socks will be before I add the ribbing, but I'm suspecting it probably won't be as long as the foot. So we shall see. And this is knit up on 2.25mm needles, because that's what will give me the best gauge for this. I am thinking that I might need to increase my stitch count, because they can feel a bit stretched out on my foot because of the negative ease. But I'll have to wash this first and see if that's just what it looks like knit up before it's washed and blocked, or what. Yeah, something to think about for the next pair. Because as you might remember, I have another skein. I have the London House Yarns colorway, the Four Founders, in my stash. That might be cast on for London, because I need an easy project that I can just put in my bag and bring along. Yeah. And the thing that got the most work done on it is another shawl. I knit way more shawls than I actually wear, but I don't give them away either because I'm possessive of them like that. But, oh, and I forgot to mention that my sock is living in this sushi bag from the Plover Bear. And, well, the bag needs a wash. For a long time, this was one of my only bags I had. So it's been all over, and I use it for all my sock knitting, if it qualifies for a bag. Sometimes my knitting is bagless. Yes. And in my Lowlands original bag, which still has Denmark right in there, I have my Ailing shawl. My Ailing shawl is knit out of Malabrigo sock. This is the either Africana Violetta or Violetta Africana. I'm leaning towards the last one. And as you can tell, it's just a tiny skein or cake. Because, and I'll just try to untangle this. I have completed the body of the shawl. Last week when we spoke, I had done the first two sections here of the purple, and now I have, hopefully, should have 6 sections of the purple raindrop pattern. the effect of which is so much more obvious on the screen because you can see me behind it. And I have count them, one repeat of the lace edge border. There are 18 repeats across. Yeah. With a cable, and although it's mirrored across, it wasn't as intuitive as I would probably prefer it. The first stitches here, no problem, that's just a 4-row repeat. So I could figure out what I was doing, which is why I also have a stitch marker here, because as long as this one is correct and this middle part is correct, then there's no problem. And this is just to mark where I'll knit the border onto the shawl. The green color is also a Malbrigo sock in the lettuce colorway, and I'm still loving this color and I'm loving working with it. It's just that I still have to do this 17 more times. I think the problem is I'm still a bit burned out from the Evenstar shawl, which was 56 repeats around. But at least I figured out around 10, 12 repeats in how to tell where I was in the pattern just by looking at the progression of the stitches. Here I'm still at a loss. So much so that I've actually considered putting markers for every repeat on the shawl itself, just so I can see, oh, nearly not now. It's just the whole mentality of it. But yeah, haven't done that. I might, when we get clear, when I'm past the halfway point, I might do that, because it's like, okay, one closer. Trying to stay motivated. So yeah. That is my Ailing shawl, and Ailing is by Justina Lakowska, also known as Latest Knits. And finally, I know you're wondering what happened to my cardigan. It is here, and I have been working on it. And I put it too far away, and now it's tangled on some beads. The yarn I'm using, let's start with that. The yarn I'm using is Hedgehog Fibers in the Pollen colorway. It's showing up way more orange than it is, or at least on my screen. This is still the second skein, and I am hitting my needles on everything today, it seems. Where is my shoulder? That's my shoulder. This is what it looks like so far. Lace panel with the beads, and let's just unroll it. I worked past the decreases, past the middle section, and I'm ready to start the increases, the waist increases. And I'm not sure how much further I'll have to knit it. after I finished doing the increases, because I tried it on and sent a picture to my bestie, because that's what Snapchat's for, right? And yeah, it hits fairly low on my upper body. Not low enough that it's ready for the ribbing, but yeah, fairly low. So I might start the sleeves this week. My knit nights at the cafe are starting up again today. We meet every 2 weeks, and it alternates between a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And I'm thinking of bringing this along because it's increase a row, knit a couple of rows, increase another row. So it's fairly mindless, also because I'm using stitch markers to show where I am. So this right here is the last decrease I did. And then I did 25 rows. And I will put this silver one as my increase row starter point, so that I'll know just by looking at it that, oh, I've only done the one increase and not fool myself into thinking I've done 3 increases. Because I might do that sometimes, and then have to recount and figure out that no, that can't be it, because there are 25 rows here and it's not a multiple of 25. Sorry. Or a multiple of 10, I should say. So yeah, this should hopefully get a lot of work done. Not sure if I can get past the increases tonight, because knit night's only a couple of hours. But yeah, should get some work done. I have, well, that's obvious since the Olympics are finished now. I gave up on trying to knit this for the Ravelinics. I think I discussed this last week as well. And instead I am planning on knitting this for our London trip, which is in less than 2 weeks. Last year I brought along my Grace cardigan that I'd knit for the trip. So I figured, why not make a tradition of it? Some people knit Rhinebeck sweaters. I apparently knit London cardigans. And that way Louisa can steal it and whatnot. I say that. I hate it when she steals my stuff and tries it on. No, I don't. She always tries on my stuff. And I never let her have it. But yeah, that is the last of my knitting. As I said, I have knit night tonight, so hopefully there'll be a lot of progress on this, and if not, I have the rest of the week to work on it, and most of next week as well. So I'm sure I'll be fine. If not, hey, I can knit on the plane and wear it with the ends hanging out. No one will notice, right? And just a quick check. Yes, I did talk about everything. I always feel like I should be talking about more things, but that's because I'm still doing a secret test knit. So I'm working on that and not showing it, but it feels like, oh, I have another project. Oh no, I can't show it. Yeah, that doesn't matter to you. It doesn't matter to me either, because at some point I will be able to show it and say, oh, remember when I told you? And you will have forgotten all about it. Or I'll forget all about it and never show you, unless I wear it on the podcast. But yeah, like I said, it's looking to be a lovely day here in Denmark. And I think I'll go out, sit outside, do a bit of knitting while I do my laundry. Yeah, so I hope you have a nice week and I'll see you next time. Bye! I said bye, right? I should remember to press the button as well.